Ladies and gentlemen, please notice that exits are conveniently located at the front and rear of this auditorium. When leaving the theater, we suggest that the exit at the front of the auditorium will allow you easier access to the parking areas. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Mike Field.
I'm Mike Butler.
And you're listening, and welcome, to Forgotten Cinema Lead Up. Each episode, we highlight a film from a popular series and follow it all the way to the most recent release. We'll discuss what we love about the movie or perhaps don't love about it, but we'll always recommend you revisit it, even the not-so-good ones. But I can tell you that this is not one of those. So let's get into it. Mike, you should have done the opening because you did the last one. I'm sick and tired of doing these openings. How are you doing?
I'm doing all right. I just woke up from a 57-year nap with my cat. And it turns out, despite all my warnings about there being deadly human-killing aliens on this planet, the company has decided, we'll just set up shop, not believe you, and then, go let these aliens run amok among all the colonists at LV-426. So, what am I even here for?
What are you talking about? Could it be Aliens or Alien 2?
Who calls it Alien 2? That is not what it's called.
I know. That's right. So if you have been with us before, obviously you watched our Alien lead up. We're leading up all the way to Alien Romulus, which is in August. Yeah.
Mid-August, I believe.
Yes. Obviously, as we record this, we are in late June. So, we are on target. So obviously now next on the list is Aliens, which is one I was very excited to watch. I made arrangements to watch the special edition because I wanted to watch the full one because I love the gun turret scene. So I love that stuff. And I did, in fact, watch the special edition. So I watched the 2 hour and 34-minute version, or 37-minute, whatever it is. That's right. Butler, did you do the same?
Indeed do the same. My Blu-ray set has a little intro before the theatrical or before the director's cuts of each movies, apparently. So Ridley Scott it was funny. His title was beginning was, I always wanted this movie to be 2 hours. I found my theatrical version to be a perfect cut, but there were some things looking back on it that I could have added that I liked originally. So I didn't want to increase the time. So this cut's exactly the same runtime, but with different scenes. James Cameron's began with, when I put this movie at the theater, there was like a mandate movies had to be 2 hours, but I don't like that. So my movie's 2 hours. This is 2 hours and 37 minutes. I hope you like it. This is what I want you to see. Two very different opinions on runtimes in movies.
Well, he definitely has the clout now to do whatever he wants. All right, so let's get into the facts, and then we'll talk about what we thought about the film. I don't have a lot of viewing notes because I just watched it. I was
going to say my viewing notes cut out as soon as the aliens attack, they get very sporadic.
Yeah, so I was just kind of watching it, and I've seen this movie multiple times on multiple occasions, so I kind of am mildly. I don't want to say I'm well versed, but I am close to it, so I know
the two
quite
of
a bit
us
of the
basically a couple of days ago quoted the movie to each other from beginning to end.
Exactly. All right, so Aliens has a runtime, the one that was in the theaters, of 137 minutes. The one that we watched again was 154. Rated R, production budget of $18.5 million. It came out on July 18th, 1986. Its opening weekend did 10 million, domestic 85, international 46, and worldwide total, which is odd. It's 131 when you add those together, but I have a note that it's 131 to 183 million. So maybe they're counting some re-releases in there, or
that's what I would assume.
Don't know. But Butler, before I get into everything, and you know how I like to do, this film was the 7th highest grossing film of 1986. Domestic. We're talking domestic. Okay. That's 86 million. Number 7. Butler, 80s movies. How many top 10 before even you give them to me?
I don't know.
How many of the top 9, I guess, are you going to get? Do you think 1986?
1986, a year before I was born. I don't know if I'm going to get any. Honestly,
you've seen these movies.
I'm sure I have.
Oh man. I can just read them off for you if you want.
Wait, is it one of the Die Hards?
No, Die Hard was 1988, Butler. You are 2 years earlier than Die Hard.
Which means I'm out of time.
One of the Die Hards. We haven't even gotten to the first one.
So I'm out of time for Lethal Weapon.
Correct. Lethal Weapon is not there. Come on, man. The number one's got your number one guy in it.
I know. Is it Harrison Ford?
No, he's not. He's not in the top 10. Not at all.
Who else is my number one guy?
Aside from the last movie we watched of his that you hated, you've loved all his series of films that we watched leading up to it. My God, dude.
I don't know. Just go ahead and tell me. This is going to be sad if you just.
No, I know. No, I'll give you one hint.
All right, give me a hint. Give me another hint.
It's number one at $176.7 million. Kenny Loggins.
Oh, Top Gun.
Yes, there you go. Shame on you, Butler.
I got Tom Cruise. Tom Cruise.
The second one at $174.8 million is the main actor is an import from Australia.
Is it Crocodile Dundee?
It is Crocodile Dundee. Number two.
I remember we did an episode where that came out around the same time, and you talked about how ridiculous the amount of money that movie made was.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
No joke. Okay, number three at $138.5 million is a war movie. 86. And I'll tell you right now, it's not Full Metal Jacket because that was being shot at the same time that Aliens was being shot.
It can't be Apocalypse Now. Apocalypse Now is
It can't be Apocalypse Now. That's in the 70s.
Yeah. I actually didn't think Full Metal Jacket was that young.
I'll give you some. It's a big time director. Big time director. Nixon, JFK. It's Charlie Sheen's in this film. William Dafoe.
Oh,
the cover is this.
Platoon.
Yes, Platoon at 138.5.
As soon as you said that, I was like, oh my God, I have the poster in my mind. I was just like, what's the title?
Number four for 1986 at 115 million is a sequel. Okay. It's a sequel and it picks up right after the first movie.
Back to the Future.
Ends. No.
Two.
It picks back to no. It picks up right after the first movie ends. Okay.
It's not Back to the Future.
It's in the parking lot. Punches a bunch of windows. Come on.
Is it Rocky?
Okinawa.
I've never seen that movie.
You've never seen The Karate Kid Part 2?
Oh, yeah, but not in a long time. You're definitely more of a Karate Kid guy than I am.
Oh, come on, man. Everybody knows Karate Kid Part 2 with the drum and he's like doing this. And come on. I
do remember the parking lot scene, but I don't remember the breaking windows part. I remember the end of the parking lot scene.
Okay. If you don't get number 5,
okay,
you're not a fan. At $109.7 million, it's another sequel. It's the fourth in the series. Well, third sequel, fourth movie.
Rocky 4?
No, it's one of your favorite franchises.
Oh, is it Voyage Home?
Yes, Star Trek 4, The Voyage Home. Number 6 at 91 million with has Rodney Dangerfield in it. The Triple Lindy. Oh wow, you've never seen Back to School? That's a shame.
Only once on Comedy Central.
You need to watch it again. That's a shame. All right, number 7 I said was Aliens. Number 8 at 79.8 million is stars the let's see. How should I put this? We're about to watch his movie that comes out on Netflix next week.
So Eddie Murphy.
Yes. Do you remember when he goes, I want the knife, please? When he's doing the thing when he's, come on. You've never seen The Golden Child?
I want to put that, or I did put that on the Forgotten Cinema list because I haven't seen that in forever, but I remember really liking it, but I don't remember much of the movie.
Your 80s acumen in movies is hurting me right now.
I've got to pick
You're not going to get I don't think you've seen this. I'm not going to get number 9, but number 9 at 71.6 million stars. I think Judge Reinhold is in this one. He is. He's also in this one. Ruthless People. I don't know if you've ever seen that when Helen Slater, when they kidnap Danny DeVito's wife, they kidnap Bette Midler.
We did that on Forgotten. We did that on Forgotten Cinema.
Did we really?
Yes.
There you go. We did. Now I'm old. Okay, number 10.
And I'm the one that put that on.
$70 million is probably about the best reason, the best example of skipping school.
Ferris Bueller.
There you go. Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Nice job, Butler. I'm a little disappointed, but nice job. All right, let's get back to it.
I think Armed and Dangerous I didn't see, and Karate Kid I just haven't seen in quite some time.
I didn't say Armed and Dangerous. Did you say Armed and Dangerous?
I did. Back to school.
Yeah. Anyways. This Brandywine Productions produced this movie, and it was distributed at 20th Century Fox. So I said it came out on July 18th, 1986. So let's go back a week to July 11th, where you had in a wide release Club Paradise. I believe that's with Robin Williams. And then I know you've never seen that. And the 18th had a wide release. You had Pirates and Vamp. And on the 25th, the week after, you had a wide release of Out of Bounds, Haunted Honeymoon, Heartburn, and Maximum Overdrive.
Haunted Honeymoon? What is that?
I don't know offhand. Obviously, you've seen Maximum Overdrive.
Yes. That's probably one of the only ones on that list I have seen.
Haunted Honeymoon. Oh, no. Yes, I've seen Haunted. I'm sorry. It's with Gene Wilder and Gilda Radner. It's like a horror comedy.
Oh,
it's
kind of want to check
Gene Wilder directed it. Yeah, I have seen that film. I apologize. Okay, this film, Aliens, was directed by James Cameron. I'm sure that everybody knows that. Obviously, Terminator, T2, True Lies. You know, he won 3 Oscars for Titanic. Obviously, Avatar. We all know James Cameron. He also wrote the screenplay for that. And I believe when we did The Abyss on the main show, I talked about his screenplay credits for Piranha 2: The Spawning and Rambo: First Blood Part 2, which he was writing at the same time that he was writing this film. He took both jobs at the same time at the behest of Walter Hill and Dave Giler. So the two producers of this film. They also have story credits for this movie. So Giler has done the Parallax View. I don't know if you've seen that with Warren Beatty. He wrote that. He wrote The Money Pit, and he wrote the 1977, the original Fun with Dick and Jane. Walter Hill has written 48 Hours, The Warriors, and The Assignment. I believe he directed The Warriors. I don't think we did 48 Hours. I can't remember if he directed it or not. Cinematographer was Adrian Biddle, who was nominated for an Oscar for Thelma and Louise. He also did V for Vendetta. Composer was James Horner. He has 10 Oscar nominations and 2 wins, both for Titanic, song and score. Edited by Ray Lovejoy, who's done 2001, A Space Odyssey, and Krull. And this was produced by Gail Ann Hurd, who was James Cameron's wife at the time. She's done Armageddon and Terminator, to name a few. This film returns Sigourney Weaver, the only returning member of the Alien cast, obviously, because nobody survived. Whoa. Well, go ahead.
Jonesy's there.
Okay, fine.
Played by a different cat. I mean, if you're talking actor-wise, yeah. That Jonesy is not the same Jonesy. That Jonesy also weighs like 8 pounds heavier.
Okay. I mean, did you have both on your screen? Like you were looking at them? Like,
well, I just watched it a week apart. The second Jonesy's definitely a darker orange, but also I never noticed how fat second Jonesy is until he's like in a scene where she picks him up.
Stasis. He was in stasis for a while.
Eating cheese.
Maybe he put on some weight. Which I always wonder, Butler, when they're in stasis, why they don't have feeding tubes or IVs attached to them?
I don't know.
They have to eat the
EKGs, yeah,
on them. Yeah.
I mean, maybe they have stuff on their back that we don't get to see. I mean, I know the whole point of stasis is it slows your metabolism. That's why you're able to like be there for 60 years at that age. But yeah, they should have some kind of tube going in.
Right. Also, obviously, Sigourney Weaver's back as Ripley. We talked about her credits before. Ghostbusters, nominated for Working Girl, Gorillas in the Mist. She was actually nominated for this film. Carrie Henn plays Newt, or Rebecca. She hadn't do much after this. She's actually, or was, a school teacher in California. So she went on and lived her life. Michael Bein as Corporal Hicks for the Terminator, The Abyss, Tombstone, and The Rock. Paul Reiser as Burke from the TV show Mad About You, movie Bye Bye Love, and of course Beverly Hills Cop. Lance Henriksen as Bishop, The Quick and the Dead, Hard Target, and the TV show Millennium. I would not be able to say Lance Henriksen without saying that TV show because Butler would remind everybody that he's from Millennium.
He's also Pumpkinhead.
Yes. Yeah. He is Pumpkinhead, or he's in Pumpkinhead?
And at least the first one, I'm pretty sure he is Pumpkinhead. Okay. I haven't watched it in a while.
I've not seen the first one in quite some time. I've never seen any of the sequels. So
I've seen 1 and 2, but I think there's 5 now.
Of course. Bill Paxton as Private Hudson, rest in peace. Apollo 13, Twister, Frailty, and the TV show Big Love. And then you had a bunch of other people that are in there that you kind of would recognize. You know, Lieutenant Gorman is played by William Hope. He does a lot of voices for Thomas and Friends, actually. Jeanette Goldstein, this is her first film. As Private Vasquez. We talked about her in the main show, one of our Forgotten Horrors. She was in Near Dark. She's also in Terminator 2 when she talks about Wolfie.
How's Wolfie's fine, honey?
Exactly. Al Matthews is Sergeant Apone, who is in The Fifth Element. Al Matthews, I have a couple facts here about Al. He was actually a Marine in real life. While on combat duty during Vietnam War, he became the first Black Marine to be meritoriously promoted to the rank of sergeant. And he also was the first Black voice on England's national station, Radio 1. So Al Matthews doing great things outside of this Aliens film. Mark Rolston as Private Drake. You've probably seen him in Shawshank Redemption. He's the one that gets his jaw broken. And he's also in The Departed. Rico Ross is Private Frost. He's the one that gives that delivers that awesome line of harsh language. He's in The Wishmaster. Colette Hiller as Corporal Farrow. She's not much after that. Daniel Cash as Private Spunkmeyer, the worst last name probably in this film. He's in the 2014 RoboCop and the movie Mama. And then Cynthia Dale Scott as Corporal Dietrich. Dietrich was not Farrow's the one flying, right? Dietrich is the one that
he's the one that gets it in the cargo bay. Yeah.
No, Dietrich is played by Cynthia Dale Scott. She's the one that she gets picked up first, or she gets killed pretty quick.
Is she the one that gets lifted up at the beginning by the tail?
I believe so.
Okay,
yes. Yeah. She shoots Rico and she shoots Private Frost. Yeah.
Yep.
All right. So it's not really a surprise that both Mike and I really love this film. I think, I don't want to sit here and just kind of like gush over it, but I mean, we definitely can talk about, I guess, how about this? I mean, let me ask this. Obviously you love this film.
Yes.
But is there any in this of all time?
Of all time. Up there.
Wow. Is there anything in this watch of the film that stuck out to you that you noticed a little bit that you hadn't noticed before, whether it's something technical, whether it's something story wise? We both watched the special edition, so I mean, it could be something that's you appreciate that's different in the special editions than the original. Give me something.
I think the thing I noticed most this watch, because this was kind of like you said, we know we love this movie. I knew I was loving this movie coming into it. Was I was looking at it in a more technical kind of way, I think, this time. And the one thing I noticed that I don't think I really appreciated, although I always liked the movie, obviously, and everything about it, the set design and the way the sets worked, I really appreciated a lot of stuff with the set design. Like from learning that the Ripley shuttle at the beginning had to be remade because the original shuttle set where plans got burnt up in a studio fire. So they had to go back and look at old frames and remake it. The outside area when they're on LV 426 and they get out of the tank, the fact that the miniature and the tank match up is really cool to me. And just a lot of that stuff really like helps sell the movie. Being able to go outside and get into that bunker, and it doesn't look like they just shot at some factory entrance. I mean, maybe they did. I'm not sure. I didn't read anything about that scene when they first enter the facility, but it looks like a set. It looks, everything's so well dressed, so well destroyed, so well lived in, you know, from the donut in the old coffee, like with the stuff dripping in it from the rooftop in the rain, all that kind of stuff really helps sell the movie really well. I didn't notice how messy and disgusting the hallway leading to Ripley's apartment is before they head out to the planet. Like those little touches really stood out to me this watch than they ever did before.
Yeah, she's clearly living in not a great part of. I mean, they're on like some kind of floating system, right? Floating city or floating
when she's got
or something.
When she's doing the reports, she is, but she might be back down on because they're floating over Earth, so she might be back down on Earth by the time that they're in the apartment scene. We don't really know.
Okay.
Because she's been living a life, she's been working cargo or whatever.
Right. Most of this film was shot at Pinewood Studios in London. Mm-hmm. So this a lot of this stuff was on studios, on the studio, excuse me. You talked about the coffee. Those are the worst coffee cups. Like if that's the future where they're just short and fat and they're like, maybe that's an 8-ounce cup. I don't know.
Oh, the stupid glass ones they're using?
All of them. Even the ones they were drinking on at the Colony, they were really short.
Oh, those
like,
stupid little plastic things.
Yeah, I was not a fan of that.
You got to refill it like 8 times to get 1 glass of coffee.
I do have some notes about, well, not all, a lot of notes, but I do have a note about the alien nest, that set was kept intact, and that set is reused as the set for Axis Chemicals for the movie Batman. So if you ever watch Batman, when they're in Axis Chemicals, that's the original Aliens nest set. And actually, when they went to use it, it was still decorated and set up with the nest, all that stuff on there. So
I was going to say, so they had to take the hive. Yeah.
Yeah. So I thought that was interesting. A couple things I didn't know, but most of the things I didn't know was from the facts. I never knew that Vasquez was the inspiration for Tasha Yar for Star Trek Next Generation. Did you know that?
I did know that from another.
I did not know that. Yeah. We talked about this, I think a couple of days ago. We talked about the fact that Michael Bein playing Hicks was recast. It was originally James Remar, who people might remember him from. He's Dexter's father in the show Dexter. And he was in the Warriors because that was a Walter Hill film. He was in that. And that's, I think, how part of the reason why I got this gig, but he ran into some legal trouble and some personal problems, and they fired him a month in, and they brought on Michael Bein. And I told Butler, Butler, I told you to look for it, and I didn't even look for it myself.
Oh, I found it. I read something about it and watched a little clip where they talked about it.
Yeah.
So like Remar's visa was taken from him. He had to leave the country, which I thought was like pretty crazy. But the only scene is when they first walk into the hive, and they're walking forward. Hicks, quote unquote, which is James Remar in this case, walks past the camera center right. Just so you see him from behind. It's maybe a 3-second shot, and that's apparently it.
Yeah. So he's in the movie. It's just his back.
Yeah. But one thing I didn't notice until I read was that they couldn't refit all the armor for Michael Bein, and Michael Bein is a shorter guy. And so the reason his armor sometimes looks chunky and like that doesn't fit him like everybody else is because Michael Bein was wearing James Remar's clothes because they couldn't refit him.
But all their armor and their pulse rifles and the devices that they're holding, like it was all clunky. So I didn't notice any of that because it was all always clunky. Even when especially like not only when the first scene when the Marines go in and they get ambushed, but especially when like they're defending the med lab, when they're obviously towards the end of the film, when it's just Vasquez and Hudson and Hicks and Ripley and all them, and they're just like and they just keep backing up. They just all had a bunch of stuff that they had with them, so I never really noticed any of that. It was just it seemed very clunky to begin with, like not like comfortable.
You can see like as when Hicks wears his helmet, it goes this way, like a baseball cap. I always figured that's because he was he's so relaxed about being a Marine, which is kind of like something that he and James Cameron actually came up with, because Hicks was originally, I guess, like Remar's Hicks was going to be very much like Kyle Reese. And Michael Bein was like, I can't play Future Soldier twice in a row the same way. So that's why they came up. Well, you're a little bit more of fatherly to Newt. Maybe you and Ripley, you're a little more kind to Ripley. And maybe when stuff goes down, you really could care less. So that was something they had talked about to make the character different from Kyle Reese, who's always super high strung.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point. Do any of the Marines bug you? Like, is there any, like, I don't want to, I mean, I'm not looking for you to say this movie's perfect, obviously, but I'm curious if like any of the stuff with the Marines, even now, 40 years later, right? Almost 40 years later, does anything bug you? Is there something different or?
I mean, one thing I didn't really, personality wise, I don't think so. I think they all have their own personalities, which really work. Obviously, Frost and Vasquez are a little kind of annoying. So they're like kind of really hot headed. And it's like when they pass clips around. You mean Drake and Vasquez. I'm sorry, Drake and Vasquez. They're a little hot headed, like disobeying orders and keeping the clips. But although if Gorman told them why they had to keep the clips, they'd probably be a little more careful. Then there's the fact that, immediately when an alien pops up, they accidentally shoot each other. Like there's friendly fire at like the first stage. I'm just like, that's a little ridiculous that you don't know to hold your fire.
when the alien grabs Dietrich and she starts
She shoots
firing.
like randomly. She just fires at the ground. It's like
Frost. Yeah.
Shoots Frost, and then he hits. Who does he hit?
Frost goes. Oh, he hits somebody, but he goes over the side, and the whole thing is that all the weaponry he had is on fire now, and that's
because she hits somebody with a flamethrower, and then he gets hit with the.
She hits Frost. He goes down burning. He falls over burning.
Oh, she hits his flamethrower and he burns from his own flamethrower. I thought she burnt him and then the flamethrower hit somebody else.
No, she burns him. He falls over. His stuff's on fire. It explodes.
Yeah, okay. I thought there were 3 people in that chain.
If Frost shot somebody, maybe I'd have to go back. I mean, I don't know it verbatim.
But other than that, obviously Gorman kind of always is just kind of like such a puss, and so
we set him up for that.
Set him up
naive.
So at the beginning, but obviously I've seen this movie a bajillion times, so I see it coming. But other than that, I don't think any of the other Marines really bother me. I think they all have some great lines. They all throw out some great one-liners.
Of course.
I mean, maybe the pilot when she's like, "I don't care, get out here. We're bugging out." It's just like, he just told you someone's in the cargo bay. You maybe want to check real quick.
Yeah, she's you're thinking she's fake tough.
Oh yeah,
Corporal Pharaoh. The line that everyone always remembers is one of the lines. There's many.
Yes,
is when they first wake up and Vasquez is doing pull-ups and Hudson's like, "Hey Vasquez, have you ever been mistaken for a man?" And she's like, "No, have you?" That's quote unquote bar, but it comes from a Hollywood legend that involves columnist Earl Wilson and actress Tallulah Bankhead. And he asked her, "Have you ever been mistaken for a man?" And she says, "No, darling, have you?" So they kind of took that famous Hollywood legend and used that there, which is kind of cool, like when you know it, but it works completely well in the movie, obviously.
Oh yeah.
And that's pretty much the reason why Paxton got the gig as Hudson, because that's his character. He came into the audition that way. He came in like all over the top, and he didn't think he got the job, but they loved it. And so that's all Bill Paxton as Hudson. That's all him. A lot of his stuff is improvised. A lot of his stuff is him just saying stuff and having fun. So I thought that was interesting and great and funny. Yeah. I mean, he was going to take, did you see the note that it was either going to be this film or he was going to play Zed in Police Academy 2? That was what he was, and he was offered that role. That's the role that went to Bob Goldthwait, and he obviously turned that down and did this one. But it's like, talk about a career changer. Talk about like just a shift of what lane you took. He took the right one.
Oh, absolutely.
He chose wisely.
Although to be honest, I do like Bobcat in his role in Police Academy 2 as well.
No, I know that. I think that role better suits him, but but obviously we only know him as that role now. So I think Bill Paxton taking this role, and it's just like, I think this sets him off to obviously where he went after that and beyond.
I mean, half of the great lines in this movie are all Hudson's lines for the most part. It's just like, or reactions to Hudson being a little like whiny baby. It's just like,
which is funny and it works. But if you're hardcore Marines, like it kind of flies in the face of that they're tough hombres and all that stuff. But it works. I'm not complaining, but it's just, I can see somebody saying like, I thought, why isn't this guy tough? But I guess you're also facing a creature you've never faced before.
Yeah, I think it's been pretty much easy times for them leading up to this.
Yeah,
and they're just like, now that it's like, now he's so close to getting out and the shit's real. He's just like, But he's got that great speech where he talks about, me and my team of ultimate badasses are going to protect you. I feel like he's always like supposed to be the hype man by the time they drop anyway. Like, I feel like that drop speech he does is usually like, that's something he does pretty much every mission to hype the team up.
Oh, we're on an expressway to hell going down.
Express elevator to hell going down. But when he gets up too, and he starts talking, we got the best tech, we got this, and he's just going on and on.
Yeah. I always like his line, stop your grinning, drop your linen. I like that line. Yeah. I just lost my train of thought. What I wanted to ask. Oh, so this is the first time that they say xenomorph in the movie.
Yes.
Right. They don't say it in Alien. So in the franchise, this is when they name it. And it doesn't seem like it's, to me, Butler, talking with other people about aliens or just talking about the movie series Alien with everybody or reading about it. it doesn't seem that like that's like a big deal. Like when I heard it in this watch, I was like, oh, okay, so we've named them. But it doesn't seem like it was like, no one's like, I don't know. It just doesn't seem like, okay, that's when it was named. You know, does that make sense to you, what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, well, this is one of the first times I noticed that they name it in two. Like the line is such a throwaway line. They only say it once.
Yeah.
And I think that's why until like all the comics and the novels came out, people just called it the alien. And if you said until popular culture is kind of like blown up now and the internet's there, I think so many people know what a xenomorph is now. But back, you know, when I was growing up, you'd have alien toys and they would just be alien, warrior alien, this alien, and maybe the back of the box would say xenomorph. But now it's like widespread, but it all started with that one throwaway line.
Yeah.
I thought was interesting.
And I wonder even back then if they even considered that, you know, what they were starting, like in terms of
should have come up with a cooler name.
Maybe. I said this, I don't remember if I said this during the Alien one. I think I said this to you. And I'll repeat it again. This is the film that really introduces to you and sets forth the character of Ripley that moves forward in terms of the character of Ripley that everybody remembers. Everyone, I mean, I would venture a guess that a lot of people younger than us have seen Aliens first before Alien, because it's a different Ripley in Alien than it is in Aliens. And I think that this movie kind of gives you the character of Ripley that maybe we deserve, or, you know, a proper antagonist to the protagonist of the xenomorph, especially the xenomorph queen. So I'm curious your thoughts about that in terms of the Ripley we're presented here in this film.
I think one thing I noticed this watch was that she kind of starts out very similar to the Ripley of the first film. You know, she's mad that when people don't listen to her, she does take charge pretty easily. And you get that from Alien. But she's also, this time, she's less, we have to run away, follow protocol. This time she's more, let's kill them all. Let's get them. She's someone who's been, you know, for lack of a better word, scorned by the xenomorphs before.
She's angry. Yeah, she's angry in this film.
She's going to get her revenge, which comes across really well in the scene with the Queen when she gets Newt and the Queen's about to get her, and then she's like, "Oh, I'll burn all the eggs," and the Queen's like, "All right, back off, let her go," and then Ripley, forsaking both her and Newt's safety, just goes, "Screw it." Burns all the eggs anyway.
Well,
kind of
she burned all the eggs because that one egg started opening, and she was like, "Come on now." Not like the Queen can control the eggs opening,
right?
I think that's definitely, and especially with the special edition. So for those who haven't seen the special edition, you have no idea that Ripley has a daughter, and Ripley's daughter is dead. Because, you know, they show a picture, which is actually Sigourney Weaver's mom in the movie. They show a picture of her, and, you know, this is Burke is telling the character of Burke that Paul Reiser plays is telling her, oh, you know, she passed away. That the picture before she passed. So Ripley was a mother. She came back to find out that she had outlived her child. So then when she sees Newt, you get that mother-daughter kind of connection that's been backed up by what we just know about Ripley's past. Plus the fact that now at the end of this film, you have two mothers fighting for their children. So you have this kind of mother be scorned kind of thing. And so I think that even adds even more weight to that, which is why I like the special edition, because the special edition colors Ripley for you. Then it's just a blanket. She's mad. She's upset. She's not going to take this anymore kind of thing. There's real emotion behind that. And that's and the note I have is that Sigourney Weaver had a lot of notes for the script that she brought to Cameron and said, like, kind of giving her, this is what Ripley would do. This is how Ripley would respond to this situation. And Cameron couldn't do all of it, but he was like, he loved that. And he was like, absolutely, let's put it in there. So I guess some stuff in terms of like story elements, maybe he couldn't do, but still. So I think that's a great example of collaboration. It's a great example of an actress or an actor taking control of a character in a role and really just kind of helping the director shade that character. And again, with the special edition, I think the end of the movie has an added element to it because we know everything from the past.
Right.
This is not the first time that you experienced this, obviously, brother. So when you first watched the special edition, did you appreciate that a little more, that kind of idea of fleshing out Ripley's character?
I did a little bit, but I think I appreciated it even more this time than the other times that I watched it. It was just a lot more like, okay, she is trying to be, Newt's mother. Obviously, there's always that scene where Newt says "mommy" and they hug. And
Yes,
it's like, that's nice. But I've watched this 1992 special edition for so long that I oftentimes don't remember that the Ripley having a daughter thing is not in the theatrical.
Okay.
Because I've kind of grown up watching the special edition for so long. But I do think it's stronger there. I do agree with you about the like they find each other, but they all three main characters have a found family because they lose their family. Ripley loses her daughter, Newt loses her family, and then Hicks, who's kind of the father figure of the other group as well, loses the Marines, who are his family. So at the end of the movie, when you see the three of them, or four of them, if you count Bishop bagged up with his milk sack, bagged up in the pods, it's like they all found their new family, and I really like that. That's something I appreciated a lot more this watch than I have in the past.
And we're going to talk about this next time, the next episode, the next movie, Alien 3, because Alien 3 takes a big giant mallet to all that. Exactly. And for those who don't know, you'll in the beginning of Alien 3, you discover that it's crashed, right? Newt's dead. Michael Hicks is dead. They don't even mention Bishop.
No, Bishop's in the movie. Bishop's in the movie.
Oh, is it? Oh, you're right. I'm sorry. And Ripley's now on this prison colony planet, and she's got a xenomorph inside her and all that fun stuff. So that happens. It kind of affects it changes the ending of this film.
It ruins it. Yes.
And I think Cameron had a comment where he was like, "I'm all for people making their movie and telling their story, but like." At the expense of other people's stories, he was just like, I don't know how I feel about that, which I understand that. I really understand that.
Yeah.
And one of my notes I had here after watching this film and after the scene when she's like, mommy, and then it's rolling at the end of the credits. And I had two questions that I wrote, not questions, but two notes I wrote down. And it was like, they should have just ended the Ripley story after this movie. And there's nothing more to do. There's no more Ripley stories to tell. That's how I feel at the end of this film. Obviously, that's not what happens, but that's how I feel. I feel like, okay, Ripley's story's done. We're done. It's no more. Like, what do you think about that?
I agree. I think it feels like they were like, well, we can't have Alien without Ripley. And it's like, no, your monsters are good. The Alien is good. There's so much, like, I know people don't like Prometheus for different reasons, but I think Prometheus and Covenant, which I don't like for different reasons that much, all explore a whole bunch of facets of these aliens that you didn't know before. There's so many more settings you can place them in, so much more of the human condition and human fear and human action, so much more you can have the xenomorphs put in place with humans and see how different types of people react to situations that are this intense. And I feel like they were just like, no, we need Sigourney. We need that star power. We need her. And it's like, well, then you have to have Newt and Hicks. You can't abandon the jettison the storyline. But you shouldn't, because you've ruined, like, they're a family now. And it does kind of mess things up, which is why I was sad that Neil Blomkamp's Alien movie never took off, because that would have pretended that Alien 3 never happened, which would have been perfect.
It was pretended that Alien 3 and Resurrection never happened.
Right. Both. Yeah. Because of that. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that if this film, let's say that Alien and Aliens came out in 2013 and then 2016, like it came out now in the last 10 years, I think an Alien 3 would probably be more likely to not have the Ripley character, because that's what we've been doing. Like we haven't had we've had series carry on without leads, and we've had new leads come in. We've had TV shows and series basically just recast the entire second season for the new story, like it's an anthology. So we've experienced that already. I think back in the 80s, I think it's more like star power. Let's
absolutely,
recognize. So I think I think that's why that's like that. I think we would have gotten, what we would have gotten, what we were asking for, which is like the Ripley story can end. We're done. We're good. Move on. Obviously that doesn't happen. It's unfortunate. If you just watch Alien and Aliens and you don't watch anything else, I guess you're happy. You're like, all right, cool. None of that stuff. I don't know anything about anything else. But I mean, to be fair, her story ends in the next movie anyways, even though she pops up again in Alien Resurrection. But
Right.
the original Ripley story ends, coming up. So
yeah. Well, you asked me, was there anything for you that didn't work this watch that you maybe noticed this watch? Because I'm curious now.
Except some of the special effects, just kind of dated. I mean, but again, this movie's 40 years old.
Was it the miniatures? Because the miniatures, for some reason in this movie, for me, were like, they look like miniatures. A lot of them.
When you talk about I think like what stands out is like the ship flying up out of orbit, going into at the end when they escape and the ship goes up like that. I like the nukes. I like the way the nuke looks. 'Cause obviously,
the nuke is cool.
And the note I have is that just a light bulb being turned on underneath molded cotton. Like that's where they get that from.
That's cool.
But like the ship going up is whatever. When the ship is flying out or when the ship flies in the climax, like just stuff with the ship, not when it crashes, not when the original one crashes, when they're when we talked about how the aliens on the ship and it kills pilot, kills Farrah. Yeah, I thought that still worked. I thought that was okay. But after that, I think some of that stuff was just. But again, it's just kind of like the 80s. It's like that. It's not like a negative. It's just kind of like okay,
For me, it was the shuttle going down off the Sulaco because they pan up and you can see that there's a doll in the cockpit, and it's so clearly a doll. And just like I think the paint just shows like some misflourishes. So they look gigantic obviously because you zoomed in. And there were a couple of shots with the tank where I was just like, that's a remote control toy.
Yeah, okay. I mean, there's also some stuff with the aliens in terms of there's no rhyme or reason when or why they attack. It's just kind of, what I mean? That's fine. Who cares? I mean, that's nitpicking. Stuff like that. The aliens do look better, obviously, than the first one. I think you and granted you've got more guys in suits, but that's fine. I mean that the alien queen is what it is, when she's walking and running it, you could tell, but that's fine. I'm okay with that. But I mean, it's anything I'm nitpicking is only because it's the dated nature of the movie and what it is. It has nothing to do with talent. It has nothing to do with it's good for what they had going on for them back then, and that's all you can ask for.
Well, I'm pretty sure the Queen was built almost last minute. It was just kind of like it took them forever to get it done.
And there's two versions. There's two different Queens. There's one the head's lighter than the other. I guess they nicknamed it the garbage bag queen because it's a lot of it's hidden with garbage bags, like
half made with garbage bags. Yeah. Did you watch the tests in the parking lot? Any of the videos?
No, dude. I was scrambling to the end.
I finished the movie. Yeah, you should check out. There's videos on YouTube of the test footage of them taking the trash bag queen out into the parking lot and trying to move it, and it looks really cool for what it is. But it looks like some kid made a cosplay costume of the queen because it is just made of trash bags. It's really interesting. And then like 2 weeks later, they had the queen.
Yeah, I know that. And during the movie, the queen needed about 14 to 16 operators to control her, all her movements and everything. And even the loader suit that Ripley has needs about 4 or 5 guys, 4 people behind her controlling each leg and stuff like that, to the point where, and it was so well done that they had people calling up going like, we want that loader. Where is it? We want that loader for our work. And they're like,
this
no, dude,
General Commander of the U.S. Army. What about those loaders?
I mean, not for nothing though. I'm pretty sure they can make them now.
For sure. With the robotic muscles and stuff. Sure.
Yeah. And then the face huggers, as long as we're talking about, behind the scenes stuff, those face huggers that are in the stasis tube, it takes 9 people to control those face huggers, 8 for each leg and 1 for the tail.
That's crazy.
Speaking of the face huggers, give me your thoughts on the scene when obviously Burke knocks him over and they're locked in there. Like what is it still tense for you? Is it tense at all?
It's a little less tense because I know they get out of it, but also something I notice is if this was the Alien one facehugger, even though he attacks right away. I don't know.
Mhm.
I just always got the feeling that the facehuggers were a lot more violent and like single-minded. Gotta get a face. And they're like, they see the facehugger, they pin it against the bed. Then the facehugger's like, all right, give me a break. Like he's trying to catch up before he goes again. And they can deliver like 3 minutes of dialogue. Use the windows. No, we can't. Help us. And it's like, also, why isn't Ripley like, Newt, shut your mouth. Don't open your mouth for anything. So that kind of took me out of it.
Movie magic.
Plus, Hudson uses an entire clip after the thing is clearly dead.
Yeah, Hudson's efficiency with the pulse rifle is questionable at best. He just seems very like, did you train?
You want some? You want some?
Yeah.
You want some?
And he's like, he's doing that thing where he like throws the gun as he's firing
to make it,
yeah.
Like the bullets are going to shoot out faster and harder because of it.
Yeah. I guess Vasquez, Jeanette Goldstein never fired a gun. So when she was firing the guns, she would close her eyes, and she does it. You see it a couple times. So there's moments where she has to close her. She can't fire it. And to the point where I guess like Galen Hurd stood in for her because she was the only female on the set that had gun experience, and she would fire the gun sometimes for her. So I thought that was interesting as well.
That's funny because Vasquez gets the big smart gun too. So she gets the huge one.
Right. And if you watch it again, the scene when they're trying to escape and they're getting cornered, and it's like right before Hudson gets killed, she's up against the wall and she closes her eyes real tight and she fires, and then she fires again, but she doesn't close her eyes, but she does it the first time. I'm just like, oh, here we go. So Butler, we talked about a movie. Remember back in the day, we talked about the movie Revolution, where Al Pacino was in it. It's like, I have to watch this film.
Yep.
Watched it. Yeah. He's actually visits the set of this film because they're shooting Revolution next door at studios. So this movie Revolution's everywhere.
Wait, so they shot a movie about the American Revolution at Pinewood Studios in England?
Yeah. It's cheaper.
That's freaking un-American.
That's why this is why Alien shot there. It's cheaper.
Yeah.
There you go. It's all about the greenbacks. You know that. This film also was heavily influenced by the Robert Heinlein novel Starship Troopers. When Cameron was writing it, he's a big fan of that book. So he took a lot of stuff from that book, or kind of influenced, like, the Marines and all that stuff. Obviously, people know Starship Troopers is a movie that came out in the 90s.
96, so, I believe.
Yeah, I was trying to think of the exact year, and then I went for the 90s. So that movie, that book had an influence on this film, which I think you can kind of sense when you start thinking about it. And a lot of people are going to think about the movie, but it still kind of translates.
The Marines are definitely very similar, especially like Hudson talking about like, I only had 2 weeks left. 2 weeks left is very similar to how the Marines and Starship Troopers have like the time limit before they become citizens and they can leave.
Yep. So this is also I got two little notes about this movie's connection to the first film, Alien. The model of the derelict ship is the same exact model that they used in Alien.
That's dope.
They found it. They needed one. And I guess the props guy who worked on the first one or was around during that time still had it. And they were looking for floor grading to use for the Sulaco set design. And they asked a lot of these local set design manufacturers if they had any. And he actually had a pile of the old floor grading that was sitting in his shop for like 7 years. That was from the original Alien. So they used that as well. So don't throw anything away, people, because it's always going to come back in style.
And they're probably doubled as the ceiling grates when the aliens are climbing through the ceiling, which is one of my favorite shots.
Oh, when they go up?
When they go up. I always think I can't look at like those the tile ceilings now without thinking bunch of xenomorphs up there.
There's not that much space when you go up there, though. When you start like going up there to do things,
True,
I know there's not much space. Like even the vents, when they escape in the vent, I'm like, there's no vent that big.
Well, those vents are huge.
Yeah, like Ripley's, she's like she could be standing up.
Where are you going, Newt? That way.
Yeah. So I don't have a lot of notes in terms of bad reviews, Butler.
Good.
Pretty much everybody
I don't
liked
want to
this.
hear him.
Well, Roger Ebert
Oh my
called
God.
The Last Hour, quote, painfully, unremittingly intense in horror and action, leaving him emotionally drained and unhappy. He believed it could be defined as he believed it could not be defined as entertainment, despite his admiration of the filmmaking craft on display.
So let me get this straight. The movie was too good at showcasing both action and horror. The action horror movie was too action and horror-y. So that's a knock on it. It was too good at doing what it does. Man,
Absolutely.
me and Ebert, we're gonna have to have a Ouija conversation. I'm gonna have to get my Ouija board out and have a talk with my man Ebert here. We have not agreed in quite some time.
You might want to. That's true. Well, you might also want to talk to Gene Siskel. Because I had his thing. I had it in front of me. Where'd it go?
It all shut down.
He said it was like an attack on his senses.
It was like
just an immense attack on his senses. Like that was like it doesn't sound like he says it in a nice way.
Oh my God.
I mean, I know the answer to this, so I'm not even going to ask it, but we would recommend this to anybody.
This one, yes. Alien, I talked about how I would have trouble recommending it to people nowadays. This movie, I will say it does take an hour. With the special edition, it takes an hour and 4 minutes before the first alien attack, which might be rough for some people, but I think the dialogue is fun and interesting enough that keeps people into it. And once the aliens start, though, the movie is nonstop for at least another hour and 25 minutes. So, yeah, I would recommend this to everybody. I'm a 26-year-old burgeoning movie aficionado, and I'm watching a lot of movies, and I'm working with you, and I'm like, hey, Mike, I'm looking for a really cool movie to watch. What do you got for me? Do you recommend Aliens before Alien? Or do you say Aliens is really good, but you should watch Alien first? How do you recommend that? If they're already 26, maybe watch Alien first and then Aliens. If they're younger,
I'm just saying they're young.
If they're younger, if they're like 18, 19, then I'd be like Aliens first. You know, that's how I started. I definitely watched Aliens before I watched Alien. You know, I grew up with Aliens. Got all the action figures and stuff like that. And then when I was older, my mom and dad were like, well, you're probably old enough to appreciate Alien now, so you can watch. Why don't you try that and see if you like it?
So it's more about an appreciation of the film, not so much watching it in order to be a completist kind of thing. It's more about, will you appreciate it more? Right. So it's not, it's more about, will you appreciate Alien more? Not, I don't think you, or I think you'd have more fun with Aliens.
I mean, I think it's a little both. Yeah. I mean, you're going to have more fun with Aliens. And then if you like that, go back. But if you do have an appreciation for movies like that, then start with Alien, because you're going to appreciate like you said, the Ripley Newt stuff a little bit more. The Ripley's need to have her undying need for vengeance against the aliens, like why she cares so much. I think that's going to show a little better. But for the average Joe, I think Aliens first for sure.
Well, I think it's also important that, you know, while we love the special edition version, the theatrical version is definitely a decent watch. It's not, you know, there's no issue with the theatrical version. We just appreciate the special edition a little bit more because I think
the turrets.
You don't get the turrets, but this is one of the rare director's cut special editions, whatever, the added stuff that the additions really matter. You know, a lot of times director's cuts stink. A lot of times stuff is cut from movies because it's for good reason. So you know, I'm looking at you, Star Wars, as well. So you know, that's just how I feel. But yeah, so I guess, you know, it's not a forgotten movie, so we're not going to say it's forgotten, and it's obviously this is not that series. You know, I don't know if you have anything else to add, Mike. I mean, we can keep going on, but I mean, I don't think we want to do like an hour and a half episode about, you know, us doing quotes and comments from Aliens.
The whole movie is just really good. It's incredibly solid. If you haven't seen it, if you're watching this lead up somehow, you haven't seen these movies, but you're interested in Romulus, that's the only reason you're watching these lead ups, go watch it. I don't know. Well, people that really like horror movies, and it's Fede Alvarez, so he did, Don't Breathe and stuff. So yeah, I think
right. Yes,
I think this is
more action than horror. Clearly,
sure.
Obviously,
I think this is a near perfect movie in terms of what it's trying. Of what it's trying to do. Well, anytime I say it's perfect, I get you admonish me. So I don't want to get admonished.
Oh,
nothing's perfect.
No,
we talked about the miniatures, and I talked about some of the marine stuff. But for the most part, I think this movie stands the test of time and is kind of the movie. If you want to make a sci-fi action movie, you're watching this movie as one of your guidelines. You have to. You can't not.
Okay, that makes sense. I agree with that.
That's my final thought.
That's your final thought.
That's your final thought.
All right. So, all right. Awesome. So, obviously with the lead up series, join us next episode for this Alien rewatch that we're going to do Alien 3. And I'm sure we're going to be very upset with how it starts.
There's some stuff in Alien 3 that's not so bad, but it's mostly the fact that they crap on James Cameron's movie. That's the bad thing. Alien 3 overall isn't that terrible.
Oh, so you heard it here. It is not that terrible, but that is next time. Thank you for listening to what we thought about Aliens. Obviously, it's a great film. We love it. There's not much else to say for us. So until then, I am Mike Field.
I'm Mike Butler.
And we say we're going to take off and nuke this entire site from orbit. It's the only way to be sure.